Hey everyone and welcome. Let's dive right into something that sounds like science fiction, but it's really not. We're talking about self-driving cars and one of the biggest, thorniest questions out there. In an accident that's completely unavoidable, who does the car choose to hit? It's a wild thought, right? We are literally trying to program morality, line by line, into a machine.
So, let me just put it to you directly, because this is really the heart of the whole thing. Would you trust an AI to drive your car? Seriously, think about it for a second. It sounds like a simple yes or no, but how you answer that question, well, it has huge implications for what our roads are going to look like in the very near future.
And this is where it gets so tricky, right? Because you've got this incredible promise on one side. I mean, we're talking about a world with maybe 90% fewer accidents. Think of the lives saved. Plus, so much more freedom for so many people. But then, on the other side of that coin, you've got the problem. This exact same tech creates these totally new, super difficult ethical dilemmas. We have to make a choice, and then program that life or death choice right into the car's code.
So, that leads us right into our first big idea, what I like to call the programmer's dilemma. See, here's the thing you might not realize. The toughest moral choice isn't actually made by the car in that split second on the road. Nope. It's made by a software engineer sitting in an office maybe years before that car even hits the pavement.
Okay, so let's walk through a scenario. It's kind of the classic example, but it really gets the point across. Picture this. You're just riding along in your self-driving car, and then, bam, something happens. An accident is now 100% unavoidable. There is no escape. The car's programming has to take over and make an absolutely impossible call.
So what could happen? Well, here's choice A. Let's say the car's programming says, okay, the safest thing to do is just stay on course, don't swerve. What happens? The car hits a cyclist who, for whatever reason, just veered out into the road. The end result is one person gets seriously hurt.
But what if the code was written another way? Let's look at choice B. The program says, protect the cyclist at all costs. So the car swerves. But where does it go? The only option is the sidewalk, right into a bus stop full of people. Now you're endangering a whole group of pedestrians. See? The car is literally stuck between two awful, awful outcomes.
And that quote you're seeing, that really hits the nail on the head. We have to program the car to make a choice. But which choice is the right one? I mean, how do you even define right in a situation like this? Do you tell it to always minimize the number of people who get hurt? Or do you tell it to protect the person inside the car? You, no matter what. There are just no easy answers here.
Okay, so the crash happens. The car does what it was programmed to do. The immediate danger is over. But believe me, a whole new, incredibly messy problem is just getting started. And that brings us to the question of liability.
Yeah, once the dust settles, who's responsible? Who gets the blame? Is it the person in the car who wasn't even driving? Is it the car company? What about the person who literally wrote the lines of code that made the decision? This is, without a doubt, one of the biggest legal headaches for this whole industry.
And if you look at this chart, you can see why it's so complicated. The blame gets spread so thin. You've got the owner, the manufacturer, the software developer. Heck, you can even point the finger at the government regulators who are supposed to set the safety standards. It's this messy web, and when there's no single person at fault, holding anyone accountable becomes, well, almost impossible.
So because of that whole liability mess, there's basically a global race going on right now to figure out the rules. This isn't just a bunch of philosophers sitting around debating anymore. No, this is super practical. We absolutely have to create some real, enforceable rules for the road ahead.
And what's really interesting is that different countries and thinkers are coming up with totally different answers. Take Germany, for example. They've put out official guidelines that say, look, protecting human life is number one, period. And you can't program the car to discriminate based on age or gender or anything. But then you have a different approach, a more utilitarian model. That one just says, program the car to cause the least amount of harm overall, minimize the number of injuries. Those are two very, very different ways of looking at the same problem.
And you know, when you really boil it all down, this whole conversation isn't really about technology, is it? It's not about the code or the sensors. It's about us. It's about our values. Because the rules we decide to program into these cars, they're like a giant mirror. They're going to reflect exactly what we as a society believe is right and wrong.
And that's really the big idea I want to leave you with. This is not some far-off science fiction future we're talking about. The rules for these cars are being written as we speak, right now, by governments, by car companies. And those rules are going to decide how the car you might be riding in one day makes a split-second, life-or-death choice.